Hey everybody, welcome back to the Positive Prepper. Hope y'all are having a wonderful day today. I know here where I am, it's extremely hot and extremely humid. Hopefully we'll get some more rain. We've been getting a little bit at a time. We got a lot to catch up on, as I'm sure most of you are. But it's getting there. So I'm going to try to keep this video under my normal 20 minutes. There's a lot of information, so I'm going to talk fast to make sure, because I want to get all of this information in there, so please bear with me. So my title for this video is Feel Safe Living in a Rural Area? Think again. So when the rioting was going on last summer, we felt pretty blessed that we, lived in the country. We weren't in amongst all that chaos and the looting and the burning and all that kind of stuff. And when an SHTF event does happen, we know that we're not going to have to deal with the chaos that will ensue probably in the cities first, right? So we're pretty fortunate that way. But I want to call your attention to some recent trainings that have been going on with 3 different groups. And these trainings are in high gear, and every one of them deal with people living in a rural area, rural communities. Okay, I want to give a shout out to Magic Prepper. I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of his videos, but he does put out some really good content. And some of the information that I got for this video came from one of his videos. So thank you, Magic Prepper, for getting that word out. And hopefully some of you guys will go in and check his videos out. So in June of 2021, this is the first one, training began for DHS for mass public quarantine of unvaccinated Americans. So I'm not going to bring up the whole debate about getting the jab or not getting the jab. Y'all know where I stand on that. But when did we cross that line from personal choice and being mandated to take something that is only under conditional or emergency use only? Okay, there's not been enough trials, there's not been enough years to determine what the long-term effects of this are. So it should not be mandated, right? In my opinion. But now they're doing, DHS is doing this training for mass public quarantine of unvaccinated Americans. Now, let me be clear about something. This just ties in with the other 2 groups that are being trained right now, and I'm going to get into that. But one of the questions that has come up is, are they going to start going to the schools and start taking away children that are unvaccinated? Are they going to start calling that child abuse? From what I remember, I think it's children from the ages of 12 and up are okay to get the vaccine, but not basically 11 and under, or under 12, I believe is what it is. And so I don't know how they would do that. I don't know, obviously with their health system online, it's pretty much digital now. It'd be really easy for them to look up and see which kids have been vaccinated and which ones have not. So we don't know if it's ever going to go down that road. I would hope not. But as this push for the jab becomes more forceful, it's definitely not outside that realm of possibility. Okay. So I just think it's wrong, in my opinion. But so tie that in with the next one. So DHS also began a different training program in August of 2019. So this was just a few months before CV-19 decided to come out of the closet. It's called the NGT 433, Isolation and Quarantine for Rural Areas. And it's held under the Rural Domestic Preparedness Consortium, or National Domestic Preparedness Consortium. I think they changed their name. Okay. So again, August of 2019, they just so happened to start this new training program, Isolation and Quarantine for Rural Areas. Okay. So this training has 5 mods. It's an 8-hour course, and they have 5 different modules. Okay. The first module is an intro to isolation and quarantine challenges. Okay. So, how do we round up that rural population? What are some of the challenges? Can't get down the driveways. Lack of communications. Like we don't always get internet out here, especially if you're between our town and the next town over. There's a big sort of dead space there, right? Number 2, legal and ethical issues. So if I come knocking on your door, do the people inside actually have to answer the door? And if they don't, what's the recourse? Okay. I don't honestly think they're as concerned about the ethical issues, which is you shouldn't be doing this in the first place. Again, in my opinion. The number 3 one is roles and responsibilities of communities. So each business has a specific role and responsibility during an isolation or quarantine event. So, for example, your dentist probably has already been informed that this is what their role is going to be. Maybe they're checking everybody's teeth as they go into the FEMA camp, whatever it is, right? Number 4, communication strategies, how to communicate and keep things organized, straight and organized. So if they turn off our communications, how are they going to be able to continue to communicate? And how are they going to communicate with all the different businesses and private sectors and your community officials and all of that? And then number 5 is the emergency response activities. So again, implementing those roles and responsibilities of your officials, your private sector, and your businesses. So these are the 5 modules that they have in this 8-hour course. It's interesting to me that this started in August of 2019. Oh my goodness. What a surprise, right? Things are already in place, and that's what you guys need to understand. They could implement any of this at any given time because they've already got it in place. If they decide to implement isolation and quarantine for rural communities, it's going to be a whole lot more targeted than it would be for urban areas, because urban areas, everybody's right there. It's easy to keep them confined. But in rural areas, you have a lot of people with freedom seeds and boomsticks, number 1. So that's going to be a huge challenge. Number 2, if you cut off our communications, you better make sure that you have a way to communicate. And so it's going to be more targeted. I envision it much as in the same way that they do the census, where they sort of do these blocks of areas. And if they've cut off communication and we don't know that, Sector A has been compromised or taken under control, it would be easy for them to do this in sections like that. So, and again, that's just number 2. And then this next one that I'm going to talk about, several preppers have talked about this online. I've tried to verify this because I don't want to induce panic or fear or, the gloom and doom. I always try to make sure that I verify my sources. This one was not easy to verify. So, but I'm just going to tell you what the word is. And you can do your own checking. And if anybody finds anything that says otherwise, please put that in the comment section below, or send me an email at positiveprepper@gmail.com, okay? National Guard right now is training on how to enter civilian homes, how to look for and secure resources. So in Hurricane Katrina, they would go door to door with people that stayed, and if they were prepared, so they had the bottled water, the food, and all of that kind of stuff, the National Guard would go in and say, hey, we need this to help these people over here who stayed but were not prepared. Okay? So my assumption is that if they do start implementing the door-to-door jab thing, that an NG is going to be with them, and this is all going to be a part of scoping out what your environment is. Okay? And I'm going to get more into that in just a second. So, we have 3 different groups training for 3 different things, but they all have to do with the rural populations, whether it's the unjabbed or just the quarantine and isolation of. Okay? So all of these things, if you kind of pull that lens back a little bit and you look at all of these things, there's 3 possibilities that we might be headed for. And I don't know, but these are this just my opinion. The first one is martial law, because if they declare martial law, then the NG absolutely, in their legal standing, has every right to enter your home and take what they want under martial law. But that also means that you're probably going to respond differently. Okay? Keep that in mind. The second thing most likely to happen is that they're going to shut the internet down. With all this talk through Cyber Polygon and the cyber warfare that's going on right now, the ransomware attacks and all that kind of stuff, it would be really easy for them to shut the internet down, shut your cell phone service down so that you are unable to communicate, and that would make it easier for them to sector off rural areas. The third possibility is they might be preparing for a revolution here in our own country if they declare a second lockdown. As I'm sure if you watch the news, you have seen that there are many people going out into the streets all over the world that are saying we're not going to do this anymore. This is not okay. You can't keep controlling us this way. We're not going to commit to it. We're not going to do the masks. We're not going to do the jabs. You're going to let us live our lives as God intended, freely. So, you know, these are all possibilities. I'm sure there's 1,000 more possibilities. But how do we prepare for that? How do we prepare for any of these? You know, not really knowing why all of this is going on and not being able to really get into the meat of any of it. So here's my 5 recommendations for preparing for this. Number 1, when they come door to door asking about your CV jab status, do not open the door. It is not a crime to not answer your door. They are going to try to do some reconnaissance and try to figure out what your environment is. If you let them in and they see the food that you have, or they see the gun cabinet, or they see, you know, security cameras, all of that kind of stuff, don't let them in your door. Okay? Number 2, now more than ever, you need to focus on having an alternate means of communication. If the internet goes down, So you don't have a TV. If you're like us, ours comes through the internet, or your cell phone service is interrupted. You need to start thinking about things like your ham radios and your CB radios. You've really got to have a different form of communication. You've got to talk to your neighbors or talk to your mag groups and find out what that looks like and start making that a priority. You need to be able to listen to what's going on outside of your own community, outside of your neighbors, outside of your home. You need to be able to listen out as far as you can. Okay? Now, if your internet goes out and your cell phone service goes out, if it happens simultaneously and you don't have like a storm going on, you don't have God forbid, a wildfire or anything like that going on, everything's just out, in my opinion, you need to take action immediately. Either bunker in or get to your bug out location. Because by the time they have done this, they've already made the plan and they're already implementing the plan. They may already have shut the roads down, depending on what they're doing. Okay? So again, this is just preparedness. I'm not saying this is going to happen. The likelihood of it sometime soon is pretty high. I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10 on the preparedness scale. But that's what prepping is, right? It's being prepared. So I would start working on your alternate communications. Okay, number 3, because your resources are part of what they're after, you need to make sure that they are well hidden and separated. Strategically spread out. Okay? Keep that dummy stash in plain sight. That's fine. But don't keep all your preps, and you know this, watching videos, don't keep your preps all in one place. Keep them spread out throughout your property if you are able to. Okay? Because that's what they're going to be after if that's what they come for. Number 4, get together with your mag as soon as possible to get everyone on the same page. You're going to have to start making some choices, and you're going to have to start making that plan if you don't have it already. So, here's an example of some of the choices you're going to have to make. Let's say that NG comes to your door and knocks, but you don't answer. They break in your door. What response is your mag going to take at that point? So these are discussions that you and your mag, if you have a mag, are going to have to figure out and work out. Okay? And then I guess not lastly, this is number 5. You may want to start implementing some of your defensive strategies. So what can you put in place right now that would deter anyone from coming on your property in the first place? No trespassing signs, no soliciting signs, security cameras, driveway alarms. What are some things that you can start implementing right now as far as the defense of your property? I would start implementing some of these things based on what you can afford, based on your own research and what you think the probability is of anything like this happening. I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm not trying to, definitely don't want to panic anybody. But there's a lot of signs out there and a lot of people have said to me, they just feel it in their gut that something is being prepared for by the government. And we don't know what that thing is. And so all we can do is use our best guesses, do our research, try to narrow it down and pinpoint it. It's not always easy to do. But try to start implementing some of those defensive strategies if you can. And then lastly, the most important thing you need to do is stay calm. Panic prohibits you from making the right choices, and it might make you forget some of the steps in your action plan. So if your internet goes down and your cell service goes out, if you are prepared for it, and I guess even if you're not, don't panic. Think it through. Maybe you got to get in your car and drive over to the neighbors. Hey, do you have internet and cell service? You know, maybe it's time then to kick on your ham radio or your CB radio and reach out as far as you can and see if that's going on in other areas. But stay calm about it. Think things through, okay? Because you'll have a better chance of surviving whatever the it is if you stay calm. So these are uncertain times that we're living in. But one thing is certain is that you are here and you are ready for whatever comes. No one really knows what the future holds, but I am certain God holds tomorrow, and that is all I need to know. I hope this video helped. Please hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell, and God bless you all.